from the Crypt.
Hello, boys and ghouls. Welcome to episode 88 of Dads from the Crypt, a Tales from the Crypt podcast. My name is Jason, and tonight I'm joined by Jody.
Hello.
And Mando.
Hello.
And returning, we have our guest, Rachel from the Zombie Grrlz.
Can you believe they let me back?
This is your third time, I think.
What do you mean?
You did Beauty Rest in Yellow.
Yep.
I was surprised Jason got you so quick. Jason also asked Rachel if she wants to be on. I feel like you're like up here. You're kind of like a superstar. Maybe she'll respond to you that quick.
I'm just like, someone want me, please.
All right. And then additionally, for the first time, we have guest and author Logan Kinser. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to have you on. Since you're the new one here, why don't you tell us about yourself?
Well, I am a writer and kind of film historian critic out of Las Vegas, and my main focus is on transgender representation in horror films specifically.
Awesome. Yeah.
Oh, wait, you're from Vegas too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yay. More Vegas people.
Yes.
And why don't you go and plug you have like a link tree, or do you have like a specific website? So I was looking on some of that.
Yeah, I have a Twitter and an Instagram. Both are trans horrors. And then I have a Patreon where I write about trans horrors, which is trans horrors singular.
Nice.
Awesome. And then have you watched Tales from the Crypt much?
I was aware of it as like a pop culture thing. This was my first episode.
Oh, that's cool.
That's a good one.
What a kickoff.
Yeah.
To be fair, we've said it before. We're kind of on the back end of the good stuff. So
Yeah, this is
I saw season 6. I'm like, okay, I have a bar.
But I do think it's really worth. I say all the time, it's really worth going back and watching some of like the earlier seasons when they were just firing at all cylinders and just.
The mid seasons were great. Like even all the way up to season 5. It's only in this season where we started slipping a little bit, I feel.
But I feel like this was actually a good bright spot, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, actually, let's just jump into it. Tonight we're talking about The Assassin, which was released on December 7th, 1994. Jody, give us a plot synopsis.
All right. We start with what might be one of my favorite openings of this entire show. The Crypt Keeper is talking to the character of the Grim Reaper from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. It's our friend William Sadler playing the exact same character from Bill and Ted. It's never brought up that this is a Bill and Ted character. It's just he's just there.
Like I'm like, trying to figure out licensing wise how, like, I guess they never call it, or the Grim Reaper is just like a public domain kind of thing. They can do whatever they want with it.
He's the Grim Reaper, he's just German. He's
got that vaguely Eastern European, which William Sadler does such a good job with.
Oh, I love him so much. Anyway, Death and the Crypt Keeper play rock, paper, scissors, and whoever loses gets a part cut off, a la cutting cards from season 2 or 3? Two. One of the best episodes of the show. So just a fantastic, and one of the longer openings, but I'm okay with that. If it had never switched to story time and it had just been those two, totally fine. It'd been a good time.
Like we could totally do that would be a good spin-off movie. The Grim Reaper as played by William Sadler and the Crypt Keeper going to Vegas, driving off
hang out, do stuff. That's the reality TV show I want in my life.
Yeah.
All right. When we get to our actual story, though, we open on a black and white video camera recording the outside of a suburban house, like your typical, like nice house in the nice neighborhood. Inside the house, a man named Jeremy is eating the balanced breakfast from the commercials. He's got all the elements there. And then his wife, Janet, walks in wearing a long nightgown with the fluffy parts on it. And yeah, it's all very, like American Dream. They talk about how much they love each other, and then they kiss before he leaves for work. Later, Janet comes home with the groceries, and she finds a woman who introduces herself as Simone Bardot. She says she's from the LAPD. She's sitting in the house just at the kitchen table. She says she's from the LAPD.
This is a bit of a red flag.
Yeah. usually.
Pretty
Yeah.
sure that's illegal. Pretty sure you can't just do that.
Well, she says she's from the LAPD, which is also a
Yeah.
red flag.
I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a
but-
lawyer, but the police can't just come in your house and hang out.
Yeah. But she says she has questions about her husband, Jeremy. She asks when he'll be home, and Janet tries to call him, and Simone stops her, and then Janet asks if she knows Captain Landau. Simone says that it's actually his idea that he meets with her alone like this, and at this point, Janet hits her in the face and tries to run away because according to Simone, her husband Jeremy, who she's known, is actually a very dangerous man who would kill someone without thinking twice. As Janet tries to run away, she runs into Simone's henchmen, who I cannot refer to as their character names. The henchmen are Corey Feldman and Mike from Breaking Bad.
I was so happy to see Mike. I love Mike.
Oh, I do too. But they tase her at the door and knock her out. And yes, I will be referring to them as Corey and Mike through this entire episode. They have character names. I can't do it. So when she wakes up, the henchmen ask if Captain Landau is a real person. He's not. It was just a fiction. That's how one of the ways that she knew that Simone was up to no good. She also knew because police don't come into your house, and she calls Simone dumb for pretending to be a cop, and Simone slaps her. Simone says that she and Jeremy used to be an item when he was known as Ronald Wald. They're here to kill him. He was a former assassin, government assassin who went AWOL. And they show Janet a picture, but it doesn't look like her husband Jeremy at all. But they say, he couldn't have been hiding this long if he had just looked like himself. He had plastic surgery, completely changed his appearance. And what made him reveal himself was he went to the dentist, and that got dental records that matched up to a database in the government, the NSA. And so now they're here to kill him and her too, as part of their no witness policy. So Corey takes Janet down to the basement. I told you, Corey, that's all I can do. Corey takes Janet down to the basement, and there's a lot of exercise equipment there. And Janet makes an attempt at seducing him, and she stands on the treadmill. And so he comes over and drops his pants down around his ankles. She turns on the treadmill, making him run with his pants around his ankles, which of course makes him trip, falls down. His tie gets caught in the treadmill, and it strangles him. Very nice. And at that point, Simone and Mike are upstairs. They're preparing to kill them with all these tools. They're going to go the torture route. There's saws and all kinds of, things you see in a dentist office. And she comes to check. And at the top of the stairs, she yells for Corey. He doesn't come. And Janet has taken Corey's gun. She takes a shot at her, but as she takes a shot, her heel breaks and she misses. But she managed to knock Simone down the stairs. They struggle. Janet goes running up the stairs with her shoes in her hand and runs into the bathroom where Mike is sitting on the toilet. And she kills him by jamming the heel of her other shoe into his eye. As she leaves the bathroom, Simone puts a gun to her head, and Simone tells her about all the people she's killed and the sex life that she had with her husband in his previous life. And then she starts saying, I'm actually kind of looking forward to seeing him. It's been a long time. To which Janet replies, not long enough, and then in a very deep voice says, Gwen. Simone realizes at that point that Janet is actually Ronald, and right before she is shot in the head. Then Janet gets up. She says she has a dinner party to plan, and Simone and company will just have to help her. Later at the dinner party, Janet excuses herself to the kitchen, where we see she has cooked and served the members of the team to her guest. Jeremy plays a little joke on her, and they flirt together for a little bit. And he says, "You're quite a woman." And she replies, "Of course I am, silly. What else would I be?" And then we end up with the Crypt Keeper and Death continuing their game of chopping off body parts until the Death is now just ahead, who wants to play one more round, double or nothing. Just lots of fun all the way around.
Best 7 out of 12.
All right, Rachel, why don't you start us off? What did you think of this episode?
Ooh, yeah. Okay. So first of all, William Sadler as the Grim Reaper was such a fun surprise. I agree with you. This is one of the best openings. I just find him so charming that I'm immediately sold. I was wondering if it was a part of some sort of marketing campaign, but I guess the dates don't really line up. So maybe they just got drunk and were like, you know, it'd be good. And they were right. And I love how it sort of like expands the lore of the Crypt Keeper a little bit. Like I love the idea of just these like death related dudes hanging out.
Right.
Is just fun. I like that. As for the story itself, I have complicated feelings.
I think anyone in 2023 should.
Yes. I mean, there's loads of camp in this. Like on the positive note, like there are really fun performances. Corey Feldman and Jonathan Banks, or Michael, whatever we want to call Mike, whatever we want to call him, are great as sort of the mustache twirling duo of fixers. They were a lot of fun. I loved the way the film was or the short was shot. Like it's almost carnival-esque. Like I'm getting like Darkman vibes almost from it.
Yeah.
I was shocked to see that this is like one of the only things he's directed. He's Mr. Bette Midler.
Yeah.
And he did like one of her videos and like that's about it. Because I actually think it's really like it's very voicey in terms of the way it's shot. So that's really, really cool. And it was fun sort of seeing a funhouse mirror version of Mike from Breaking Bad show up in this. Then there's the twist. And you know, it's less problematic than it could have been, particularly of that era. I think that it does reinforce some really troubling, problematic tropes about trans women, like being tricky or dishonest or trying to trick men. Like those are not great sort of ideas to reinforce. But I feel like, you know, it could be much, much, much worse. But in a critical sort of setting, I have to call out that's not great. That's not a great idea to perpetuate. But overall, I had fun with it. I did have fun with it.
I would say, given the setting of Tales from the Crypt, that was, actually really progressive on their
Not as progressive as they could
for Tales from the Crypt. That is progressive, just to have that and not have it as a joke. And have it as a strong character,
but it's kind of like we're doing horror stories, and the horror story is the twist is dude is a lady, or lady is a dude.
Yeah,
that's not great.
The one thing I did appreciate, and we'll all talk individually, but while we're on the subject, they didn't play with any of the like, oh, this is weird or icky or anything like that.
That's true.
Like they just
that is true.
Straight up, this is who she is now. And she seems to have a happy life. Okay, great. So I do appreciate that part of things.
That's fair.
I was actually really worried about where they were going to go with it. The minute I kind of figured out where they were going with it, I was like, oh shit, like what are they going to do? And to Jody's point, but this is also why we like have smarter people on here than us, because I really mean that though. There's stuff like I'm not going to pick up on. I'm going to be honest about it, and I like hearing points of view from people who live in the community, who are in the community, who can really pick out those little things that are problematic. Because when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, that is very problematic and not something I would have thought of.
Well, I think one thing to think about is that this isn't like we don't know if this character decided to become a woman because they want to be a woman, or just because it's a good cover for them as an agent. Like we don't really know the full motivations behind that.
I know what I prefer the answer to be.
Well, yes.
Same here.
No, exactly.
Like I like to think they wanted to be a woman, and they all decided this is also my way out.
Right? I mean, ideally, that would make that's what we would hope for, but. They didn't give us any of it. I'm kind of glad, because I'm worried what they would have done.
And it being Tales from the Crypt, though, they really didn't need the cannibalism slant at the very end. Yeah, they really didn't need that to make her like.
We just like eating people on Tales, though. Like everyone eats a person occasionally.
But we'll say that the scene of the end with the dinner plate, that thing looked disgusting.
Yeah,
like it was very well done. How disgusting that food looked. But I love how she's just like, it's cool. I'm just gonna chop it up in front of my husband right here. Like just a finger and some hands and an eyeball.
You know what stressed me out was when she put that hand in the garbage disposal. I'm like, you don't put bones in there.
I know mine can't even have no carrots, let alone bones.
It depends on the horsepower of your garbage disposal. Dad advice: spend some money on a good garbage disposal, because then you can put hands down there and it'll be okay.
Put hands. All right, Mando, why don't you go ahead with your turn?
Yeah, overall, especially after last week's episode, I enjoyed this episode for the most part. Anytime they can take those actors and actresses and put them inside of a small, like very very small setting, and have just let them play off each other, I think that's when Tales from the Crypt is at its strongest. And I love the when they're just like, oh yeah, just take her downstairs and kill her. We don't leave witnesses. And I knew something was up when she wasn't even really that worried about it. She's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna go kill this guy downstairs. And then when they go downstairs, I love that she immediately kind of insults his manhood, and that's what gets him to act. And I also love the fact, like, who doesn't take their pants off fully? Like, that was his fault. That was his bad. Like,
I
if
mean,
he
you
had
did
taken
say he was creepy.
Yeah, that
mission
is
accomplished.
Yeah.
that is true. Like, Corey Feldman is, even when he's not trying to play a creeper, he's a creeper, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just how his character comes off. He's good at playing that kind of skis ball. That's a credit to him. And then I always love Mike from Breaking Bad, and anything I get to see him, and I'm happy. I did love it when he gets killed with the shoe, and he's just on the toilet with his apron, like he has to kill this woman, but he stopped to go to the bathroom, like, because he has to make sure maybe he had some anxiety issues and needed to empty himself before he did his deed.
He gets a little IBS before
Empty
killing.
himself.
Yeah.
What a phrase.
and being that it's WrestleMania night, it did bring back vibes when Randy Savage used Miss Elizabeth's shoe to hit Hulk Hogan in the eye with it and busted his eyeball, which is good because, as we found out, Hulk Hogan is a terrible human being. So he deserved it. I don't know if Randy Savage was better, but one guy was caught on audio saying bad things and refused to apologize. The other person wasn't. But yeah, overall, I did enjoy this episode, and I really appreciate, like, I said they could have gone. I was really worried about where they were going to go with the reveal. I was like, oh God, don't go this way. And I also love how they refer to when the antagonist, when she's like, does he still like being bit in the neck? And she's like, mm-hmm. And then the end conversation with the husband, he comes up to her and he goes, hey, I bought a new paddle. And that was their conversation, which was, you got to think about it, for the 90s, that was pretty, I mean, nowadays I'd be racy on a TV show, to be honest with you, like, but in the 90s it had been pretty racy, but I always like that kind of stuff. And so yeah, overall I'm much happier with this week's episode than I was with last week's, which was not good.
All right, Logan, go ahead.
Oh God. So for our first episode, this was a doozy. Oh God. I'm gonna hit on William Sadler too. I literally this week watched an episode of a live action Bill and Ted TV show. They got like 8 episodes, and that also had Bill and Ted going into a TV universe to stop a character from transitioning. Weird week for Bill and Ted and trans characters.
What? Yeah.
What?
Also, Lisa Wilcox was in that episode, since we were talking about her earlier too. Weird connections everywhere.
This is a weird day.
Yes. And then seeing Corey Feldman was fun. He also has a history in trans horror. In 2018, he was a trans vampire in a film that like went straight to video on demand. Not good. Can't recommend it.
What was it called?
was
though? I'm sure.
It's called Corbin Nash. I want to say.
Oh, I've heard of
yes.
this.
Yeah,
I've never
I've heard
watched
the
it. I've
name.
heard of it.
Not good. Can recommend if you're interested in Corey Feldman, like cheesing it up as like a drag trans woman vampire, but not. It's trash.
You're making it sound way better than it is.
I know.
I know I am. But yeah, in terms of like representation and what that means in kind of like a nebulous sense, it tracks for where trans horror has kind of gone compared to what it used to be. Like probably from like the 60s to the 90s, it was a lot more concerned with like justifying it in a sense, like, oh, they're like this because they're psychotic or because they're split personality. This is more of a symptom of a larger problem than it is like a facet of your identity. And then within like probably the last 20, 30 years, specifically this kind of plot has been more of like the man wants to infiltrate a relationship somehow and transitions to get to that point. Like there's a movie a few years ago, Tales from the Lodge, that came out of Britain, where a gay man could not sleep with his best friend, so he transitioned and became a psychotic killer, but like was a woman the whole time.
Oh Lord.
This is not a new plot in any sense. But yeah, I think Jason touched on it earlier, where like we're never really told whether or not Janet is actually trans or whether she's just like sex change of convenience. And I think that's like a nebulousness that kind of ends up working in the episode's favor, where it's like, okay, they didn't technically go as far as they could have, and that's probably for the best.
Yeah, Tales tends to just kind of let things happen sometimes with no explanation, and sometimes, just roll with it. Like, it's so much better to not know what they were thinking when they were writing.
Don't explain this to me, please.
It's kind of like when you go to Thanksgiving dinner and your like uncle says, "Oh, hey, by the way," and then you're like, "Oh God, what's about to happen?" Oh, he just wants to talk about the moles that are under his house. Like,
oh, great. Keep him on this.
Like, I mean, knowing how the production over there works, I think they were just looking for a good twist. And they like, oh, what if, it was the guy they were looking for was actually the wife. And I think they were more interested in that than exploring or playing off of anything else.
Yeah.
So again, I don't think they definitely did not. I probably didn't even have the tools to go any deeper than that. But I'm glad that they kept it.
I'm curious. Did you guys like guess the twist ahead of time? Did any of you guess it?
I had strong suspicions pretty early on, just because we've watched a whole lot of these.
Yes, and I'm gonna say the same thing. Like, because we watched so much Tales from the Crypt, the minute when her confidence and when she killed Corey, that was when I really knew what was happening. Oh, also, I forgot to bring this up. By the way, don't fucking shoot a gun through a paint can. I love the fact she also her hands is mangled. I figured as an assassin you'd be smarter than that, but it's a whole other story. But yeah, I guess that was the first person.
No,
it's not the 18.
There's no Hannibal and B.A. Brock is nowhere to be found.
I guessed it pretty late. I think it's when she made a comment about having balls. Something about that tipped me off.
It was actually the second comment that the female assassin made, where she's like, "Oh, did she take it like whimpering, or she take it like a man?" That was like the moment where I was like, "That's very specific phrasing." That tipped something in my brain.
I mean, thinking back to it, there are a lot of parts that like were tipping off. But I think it's just the kind of place I did not expect Tales to go.
Yeah,
because they usually don't do that.
Lines? For me, when they're like, "What else would I be?"
She said that like the first scene. I'm like, that was weird, but I kind of brushed past it because I'm like, okay.
Wow, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, damn.
All right, Jody, why'd you go?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this one. In season 6, I'm happy to see one that is playful and silly in a good way. Those cameos, or I guess appearances by Corey Feldman and I don't know his real name, Jonathan Banks. Seeing them in these roles, they were very silly, funny roles. This is actually probably one of the best adult Corey roles. Like Corey Feldman as a kid, love him, always a great thing to see. Corey Feldman as adult, I don't know, man.
What about Corey Feldman as a musician?
Just moving right along. But yeah, most of the time Corey Feldman as an adult is just not my cup of tea. But in this one, like, he was fun, he was silly, he kind of had that like, hey, we're gonna go do some killing out here, like he was hamming it up in a really fun way that I really enjoyed. But yeah, I mean, it's directed kind of, it had that little bit of zaniness to it that I want to have fun when I'm watching an episode of this show. Obviously with this episode, watching it 30 years later, we very quickly have lots of things to discuss about the, cultural and political things that this show's saying. But again, like I said, it could be worse for the time. There was one other Tales episode that had a twist similar to this, and I don't remember the name of it. But they pick up a guy picks up a woman in his car. She's a hitchhiker. I think she's played by Brooke Shields. Yeah, and brings her to his house. He says, "Oh no, my wife's here," and you hear the wife yelling. And at the end, it turns out that he is actually the wife, as a psychotic woman who kills because she's insane.
Yeah, it's a very big
twist
that
That's the twist that I hear all the time in horror movies.
That was just a big
appreciated we
rip-off.
didn't go that route.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't that.
Yeah.
And especially
we have to take what we could get in 1993, I guess.
All right, I'll hop in. So one thing that I keep thinking about this episode, it reminds me a lot of like a Pulp Fiction kind of style. And again, this is 1994, and that movie was huge that year. So kind of like the splashes of violence and kind of the I don't know the different scenarios, like someone on the toilet who gets murdered because they were on the shitter.
Okay.
Emptying out. I prefer the phrase emptying out. There's a lady present.
So yeah, stylistically, I really enjoyed this episode. This is directed by Martin von Haselberg. His only other movie before this was something called Blind Geronimo and His Brother, which I couldn't really find anything on. The lead is played by Shelley Hack, who was in Charlie's Angels, King of Comedy, Troll, and The Stepfather. Simone / Gwen is played by
good.
Chelsea Field. I love that actress.
I thought she was great in this.
She's in Commando. She played Tila in Masters Universe, one of my all-time favorites. She was the dark half. I love that movie.
For all your YouTube, if you're not watching on YouTube, you had to go back and watch Rachel's face when Jason praised Masters of the Universe.
I'm just like, it's Tila.
Yeah, that was Tila. She was also in this batshit crazy movie called Death Spa.
Oh, Death
Yes.
Spa.
That movie is amazing and terrible, but amazing. There's a lot of what the fucks in that movie. But it's on. I think it's on Shudder, so go check it out. I my dirty secret is I've never seen Breaking Bad, and I know I would like it. I just haven't.
Now I think it's cool to watch, but I think it had that little moment where everyone just raved about it so much that so many people were starting it and being like, what is everybody talking about? Because it was built up so big.
Yeah,
but I think you enjoy going back and watching it.
Yeah, I missed the first wave, and then I just didn't want to hop on.
My unpopular
feel bad
opinion.
TV. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like the best feel bad TV you can watch.
Someone asked Vince Gilliam, if Breaking Bad was supposed to be a comedy. He goes, no, we're in season 5. He goes, by now Walt would have woken up from his dream and gone back to teaching high school or something like that. I will say though, I do think Better Call Saul is actually better, and I would say, Jason, like, I think you could actually. Here's a question for you guys who watch Breaking Bad: could you watch Better Call Saul first?
See, but
would it spoil too much?
I think the mic of it all.
Yeah,
I don't know that you'd want to though. Like, I get that you could.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I like getting introduced to Saul as he is in Breaking Bad, and then later seeing the how he got their story.
Yeah, and I'm a completist when it comes to that kind of stuff, so I definitely would want to watch the first series.
I started Breaking Bad after it was a couple seasons in because my sister recommended it, and I immediately fell for it. Like, I love the show.
I'm not
one of my favorite finales of all time.
Yes, I don't be that guy. So I started in season 1. I only started in season 1 because a good friend of mine is a high school chemistry teacher, and she's like, "You have to watch this show; you'll like it." And I kind of fell in love with it right away.
Yeah,
I thought maybe she was asking you to be her Jesse.
I mean, like, work kind of sucks. Like, how many times have I can't tell how many times I've been sitting in my bed, like waking up for work and just thinking, I should just go start selling drugs. Like, why am I going to the office at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. or whatever?
Exhibit A.
Yeah.
If you've never had that thought, you've never worked in an office.
I'm going to edit that out just in case.
No. All criminal liability must stay in.
But Jonathan Banks was also in the original Airplane. He was in 48 Hours, also in Gremlins. So he's
cool.
a
Wow, I know that.
Blowing my mind tonight, Jason.
I know. Marshall Teague, who plays the husband, he was in Roadhouse. He was actually also in another Tales from the Crypt episode, Curiosity Killed. He was also in Armageddon. And then Corey Feldman, of course, Friday the 13th, Final Chapter, Gremlins, The Goonies, Stand By Me, Lost Boys, and of course, Bordello of Blood.
And as much as we kind of dogged him, a little bit. Like, that guy had a pretty tragic life.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's sad what Hollywood does to some of these young actors and actresses.
Definitely. But yeah, overall,
no child actors. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
If anybody actually, Will Wheaton, who I love Will Wheaton. I don't really his acting. I'm not really a fan of Star Trek, but I love his writing and how he talks about being a child actor and exploitation of children in the entertainment industry. And he just went on a rant about people who exploit their children on YouTube.
That's the new.
Yeah. If anybody is interested in like what the industry does to children, like, Will Wheaton's a really good person. He's written some really good books about it, and also just seems like a genuinely good guy, like a person you'd want to know.
And not to go too much off tangent, but like being a YouTuber is like now like the new basketball player. Like when Mike asked my kids what they want to do, it's now want to be a YouTuber.
Yeah.
Because that's just what they see, what they like look up to. It's really weird.
But what I'd say, Jason, if they carve their own path and make their own path, that's okay.
Well,
as long as they have a fallback. But I think it's bad when like the parents like are forcing like their kids who can't who don't even know like what side of the crib smells the worst. They're trying to like get them and make them and put them in front of a camera and make them like perform.
When you're using kids as props.
That's sickening.
All right, Jody, give us the comic comparison.
Okay, so this story comes from Shock Suspense Stories number 17, August 1954. It's the same issue that has four-sided triangle in it, which is one I really like. I like that one. Script by Carl Wetzler, art by George Evans. And the comparison's really easy because it's just a completely different story. This is one of those in name only episodes. In the comic, an assassin pursues his mark to the backstage of a theater and kills a man just before the curtain rises. It turns out the assassin has walked in on the opening scene of a play about President William McKinley and the man who assassinated him. So he shoots him, and then the curtain opens, and there's an audience standing there watching him. It's a fun comic. Like, it's kind of film noir-y, like he's narrating the whole time, and it feels like, like Philip Marlowe or something like that. But it had nothing to do with this. Like, there's an assassin there. That's the connection.
I was gonna say for the 50s.
This was not a story from the 1950s. I would like to hear the 50s treatment of this story. Actually, no, probably don't. Probably don't want to.
No.
It's not good.
Depends on what side of Christine Jorgensen we're on.
Yeah, that would be an interesting project if someone were to take the actual episodes from the TV show and readapt them into comic books in the 1950s style. But that might be too much.
Maybe in the art style, but I don't know about the content style.
Vintage aesthetics, not vintage values.
Well, no, I'm saying take the modern ones and then redo them as in the art style of. But
yes,
I might be going off too far on that one.
No, I like it. I think it's a great idea.
Well, thank you. All right. Any final thoughts on this episode? Anything we haven't covered?
Real fast, the wraparound. I totally forgot at the beginning when he has his mental like monologue about how pissed off he is at the Grim Reaper. That is like my favorite Crypt Keeper moments of all time.
Oh yeah.
He's like, why is this guy still here? Like, this guy's invading my space. He's even my friend. Like, I love that part so much. And then when he makes fun of him for not pouring the good champagne, I was like,
yeah.
Oh, we've all had those guests.
I mean, the Crypt Keeper's just an introvert. He's got his space. He feels happy there. Occasionally he can chill with a guest, but not one that hangs around too long. It's fine. I get it. Like, I understand from the Crypt Keeper.
So for our California friends, how much would the Crypt Keeper's house cost in California?
Oh, you don't want to know.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on where.
Bleak.
It depends on where it is, but even then.
That's what I
if
follow
it's
a
where
lot of.
Jason and I live, $1 million, $1 billion.
Yeah,
for the Crypt.
Just for the Crypt.
And your soul.
But we do know that the Crypt does count as Squarespace.
Yeah.
That is true. Unless it's unpermitted, then that's just bonus Crypt.
I also found this Chihuahua on Instagram recently because I follow like 90% animal accounts. That's like my thing. And he looks like the Crypt Keeper. And all I want to do is start an Instagram account now called Dogs That Look Like the Crypt Keeper. And please, I mean that in the most adorable way possible. Like, I love this dog. I want to pet him and hold him.
You start that, I will follow. First follow.
I feel like it's too many letters. So I got to figure this out.
All right, let's do our episode rating. We do 0 to 5, 5 being the best, 0 being the worst. You can do half points. Jody, let's start with you.
All right, I'm going to give this one a 3.5, I think. It was fun and entertaining. Again, for the time, about as good as we could get with the kind of twist they were going for. But yeah, I had a good time with it. That's all it takes to make me happy.
All right, Rachel.
Yeah, I agree. I think 3.5 because it is quite a bit of fun and a bit of cringe. Like, the cringe knocks it down. Like, when the voice changed, we didn't talk about the voice change. But yikes!
That was the first part that made me go, huh? Because I know many trans people, and that's just not a thing. That's not.
You can't just switch voices back and forth.
No.
All
But yeah,
right.
overall 3.5.
All right, Logan.
I'm gonna say 3 or 3.5. This was like, it felt like a Peter Jackson, like early, just kind of like zaniness, and then it
Yeah.
kind of goes in its little direction. That I'm like, okay, like it could have been so much worse, so I'm not mad.
All right, Mondo.
We're straight high mine, 3.5. I couldn't because I was thinking about it. And when Jody's at 3.5, I'm like, yes, we're on the same wavelength. Everyone else did. I'm like, damn it. Now it sounds like I'm copying. It wasn't quite a 4. I think a 4 has to be close to perfect. This wasn't close to perfect. It had its issues, but a fun episode. And maybe I'm jaded by last week's episode, but I like this.
Nice. Yeah, I'll go with the
One of us,
3.5.
Jason. Yes.
Yeah.
Is this a first?
Yeah. I think 5 people are pretty much right on top. I did look it up real quick. The guy who did the voice is Cam Clark, and he did Leonardo on 193 episodes of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's
Now I
awesome.
wish that was the voice.
No,
I wish she had
problematic.
Leonardo's voice.
You know what's funny is my wife said too. My wife goes, "Oh, that's the voice of Donatello." I couldn't quite piece it because you got the name wrong. But damn, that's pretty impressive. Like, I need to give her props for that.
Yeah, and he's very prolific voice actor. Everything up to like the Callisto Protocol video game that came out recently. Red Dead 2. Yeah, tons of voices.
Actually, now I wish you'd been the voice of Michelangelo. Now that you tell me this,
well,
like-
you know who also does the voice of, was it Raphael Donatello's Corey Feldman?
Right.
Yeah, so that's
Yes.
Donatello.
Oh, that's right, that's right,
It's
yeah.
Donatello. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
so we have a couple different voices there.
You know,
And
I was going
then-
to think the world's getting better, and then people get mad about the gender of, or not the gender, the race of April O'Neil. I'm like,
Yeah.
fucking people. Fucking
Seriously.
yeah,
That's what you got time for.
Yeah, that's what's upsetting you today.
Get a real problem.
Exactly.
Try to buy real
Um,
estate in California. Get a
Exactly.
real problem.
Oh, one other interesting thing. So we didn't talk about their characters' names, but Jonathan Banks's character is William, Bill, and Corey Feldman's character is Todd.
Oh,
That-
Bill and Todd.
Yeah.
Nice.
So someone writing this
That's
really
right.
must
It's the
who
Bill
wrote
and
this
Ted episode.
episode.
Somebody saw Bill and Ted and like, I want to make everything about this now.
Which like
Oh,
this
this is a
but come on, guys.
Yeah, this is a Scott Nimfro episode. He did a lot of different Tales episodes.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Who also like wrote the original X-Men. He was a producer on Hannibal, producer on Planes, Trains, Automobiles. Really cool guy. All right, Mondo. Oh, actually, no. Let's hear from our Uncle Al. And for those that don't know, he usually sends these in like the day before the episode goes out. So when we are recording these, we have no clue what he's going to say. I'm going to try to get him if he can shed some light on the wraparounds, how that came to be.
Oh yeah.
No promises because sometimes he wasn't involved or he doesn't remember, but we'll see. So Al, take it away. And we're back. Mondo, song of the week.
All right, I'm gonna have 2 this week because they're kind of both important. One is by a band called Sonia, and they did an album called Loud Arriver, I believe, in 2001. But the interesting part about this is the person behind it, the guitarist and the singer, Melissa Moore, is transgender, male to female, and was in the band Absu, which is a prolific black metal band from the early days in the early 90s that came out from Texas. And I hate to say it, after this information came out, I can't really quite listen to them anymore because they kicked her out of the band when she came out as trans. And didn't even like kick her out and try to like hide it and be, yeah, we kicked her out because she wasn't a good guitar player. No, they were straight up like, there's no room in this band for that.
Well,
And I hear in the last year-
gaslighting.
Yes, exactly.
Now we know. Cool.
And-
No
and
more
I
of my
hear-
money.
Yeah, at least they're not lying. Like at least it's like, yeah, we're pieces of shit. Funny how a genre full of people that talk about evil, they are pieces of shit. Fuck, like, you know how many bands I've had to stop listening to because they're assholes? Like, god damn it. I don't care if you burn down churches, but like fucking be a decent human being outside of that. And but I want to bring up so she came out with a record a couple years ago called Loud Arriver, and I'll just call out the title track off that called Nylon Nights, which is straight like 80s, I'd say 80s Los Angeles, Hollywood sleazy rock. It's fun. It's really fun stuff. Motley Crue kind of a little bit more aggressive than like the Poison stuff that really or Winger, well, a little more aggressive than that. Motley Crue is, it's funny as Motley Crue gets so much shit, but they're one of the most aggressive bands that era. Like the members, they're not okay, they're not good people. And the other band I want to bring up is a band called Feminazgul.
Oh
Took a
my
turn from
God,
feminazis,
that name.
but Nazgul from Lord of the Rings, kind of riffing on the fact that all these black metal bands, I kind of mentioned last week, were all just Lord of the Ring nerds that took their names from Lord of the Rings. But it's a trans female with the name of Margaret Killjoy, who also has a really neat podcast called Cool People Who Did Cool Stuff. And a lot of it is her interviewing. She's kind of crazy in that she's like a survivalist anarchist, but given what she's come from, it makes sense. Like she's come from a world that didn't accept her, and this is where she's kind of gone. But her podcast, I actually listened to an episode today, and it's really fucking cool. So I think everyone should kind of check it out. Called Cool People Who Did Cool Stuff, and the band Feminazgul did a really good EP. I think it's a full length back in 2020 called No Dawn for Men. And the song I'll pick off that is the song is, I don't know if it's the best song on the record, but the name's the coolest. And it's Bury the Antlers with the Stag.
Nice.
So two bands. I think it's important that as black metal is like a genre I love to death. Like my favorite genre in the world. Like I love the fucking music, but it's filled with a lot of problems. It's a lot of problematic people that play this kind of music and promote this kind of music. So I love when someone like Margaret puts out awesome music and pisses off these right-wing pieces of shit these far right-wing pieces of shit who don't want this in their genre, even though like the idea of black metal was anti-conformist music, and what's more non-conformist than being who the fuck you want to be and saying fuck you to everybody else. So shout out to Feminazgul. So two songs, Sonia, Nylon Nights, and Feminazgul, Bury the Antlers with the Stag. Check them out. Feminazgul's not on Spotify or Apple Music. Sorry. You have to buy their records off Bandcamp, but do it and support the artist. Why not?
Yeah.
You're
Jason.
muted. Jason, you're muted.
Sorry. Sometimes the Mando goes off on his tangents. I take a break.
I do love
Wow.
that Jason will talk shit, and then I'll get a message tomorrow like, hey, what's the name of that band again? I forgot the name, and I want to
Look at this dad on dad violence.
which respect. I respect that though.
Yeah. All right, Jody, give us some horror news.
Dad on dad violence. Sorry. That's like every bar fight in America. Every little league baseball game is dad on dad
Nobody
violence.
talks about dad on dad violence. Epidemic.
All right, a little bit of horror news here. I'll keep it pretty quick. But one of these I had to mention for Mondo's sake. Alex de la Iglesias's 30 coins.
Shop for glaciers for outside.
That is Alexa hearing things that I did not say. Alexa, stop.
Oh my god, that's what you should name. Can you name your Alexa?
Having to unplug my Echo here because it's too close to my computer. Let's try this again.
We're leaving that in.
Please.
Oh, yeah.
I leave all
Alex
this
de
in.
la Iglesias' 30 coins released a trailer for season 2, and it looks awesome. Lots of demons and Paul Giamatti. So,
What?
yeah, Paul Giamatti.
Oh my god, I love that first season. And if you guys haven't watched it, it's a great Spanish horror show. And the intro is batshit crazy. Like the intro to every episode, which is just a theme, is so fucking nuts. That's what kind of hooked me. So I watched, oh yeah, I'll see what this is about. And I watched the intro. I'm like, yeah, like I need to watch every episode of the show. It's awesome. It's basically Judas Iscariot. And they're trying to, and he got his 30 coins for turning in Jesus. Those 30 coins now have power, and it's basically demons trying to collect those coins to create hell on earth.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
if you're not familiar with the Iglesias' stuff, like all of his stuff is awesome, kind of like religiously tinged. Like it's really good stuff. Day of the Beast is the first one that Mando introduced me to, and it's fantastic.
Dave the Beast is my favorite movies in the history of movies. It is a priest who's trying to become evil so he can fight the devil. So he goes into a record shop and he's trying to buy heavy metal records. And he's trying to buy he's trying to, but he's at first it's kind of like it's almost a priest in Fight Club who's trying to do mean things, but he feels bad about it. So he's doing mean things to people, but he feels bad. It's a batshit crazy Spanish film that I had on VHS for the longest time until our good friend Joe Ferry said, check your mail. And he sent me a 4K copy of it. And it's like, I fucking love that movie. And shout out to Joe Ferry, who's Jody's podcast. That'd be a great like cowboy podcast. It's the Pardcast.
The podcast.
TM.
Oh man, that's awesome. Other horror news: the video game Vampire Survivors is releasing a DLC on April 13th called Tides of the Foscari. That's going to be more fantasy based. I don't even know like fantasy based horror. You're killing a billion little critters in small pixel art. But I love Vampire Survivors.
Oh,
it's a game that makes me so happy.
It's fun. It gives me so much anxiety. Like
I know.
Oh, but once you've upgraded everything, it's just a little power trip. You just go in there, you blast a million things, and then you just go back about your day. It's nice.
If anyone doesn't know, I think it's now on Android and iOS. So.
Yeah, it's on Android. It's on everything. I mean, it's a very low res game. You could probably play it on a smart toaster, but it's a lot of fun.
if it'll play Doom, it'll play. Yeah.
Yeah. More stuff. Witchboard is getting a remake from director Chuck Russell, who made Dream Warriors and the Blob remake.
Oh.
So
both great movies.
yeah, into it. Totally happy about this. And finally, Shudder announces their month-long Halfway to Halloween lineup for 2023 this April. And some of the highlights coming this year: a new season of Slasher called Ripper. And I love Slasher. That is such a good show. I've been promoting it on this show forever. So a new season, and it's set back in the 1800s, like Jack the Ripper times. Very excited. Kids versus Aliens is coming to Shudder. I should have looked up who the director for that is, because it's somebody who I like, and I just don't know who it is. Jason Eisner, who did stuff for VHS and all of those other anthologies. I'm trying to vamp and fill time for a minute. Hobo with a shotgun, Turbo Kid. Hobo with a shotgun and Turbo Kid.
Okay.
That
There you
guy
go.
making Kids versus Aliens.
Fucking love Turbo Kid. Turbo Kid is
so good.
batshit
Turbo Kid
crazy.
is so good.
That score is.
We're also getting a new half season of The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. They're splitting it into 2 half seasons this time, 5 episodes. The Boulet Brothers Halfway to Halloween TV special is coming in April. And also Shudder's picking up Blair Witch, the original, and Book of Shadows. So you need to watch Book of Shadows. Watch the original too, but watch Book of Shadows.
Yes, Book of Shadows is Jody and I are 2 of the unapologetic Book of Shadow lovers.
They also have The Wicker Man, which is one of my freaking favorite movies. Not the Nick Cage one, the 70s
How dare
one.
you, sir?
Hey, I love Nick Cage, but that 70s one is one of my favorites of all time.
I will say
got The Fog. They've got Pumpkinhead now, another just fantastic movie. So yeah, lots of good stuff coming to Shudder this April for Halfway to Halloween.
I don't think people should watch the Nicolas Cage version of The Wicker Man, but they should watch the highlights on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's him like my favorite one is he runs up and punches a woman wearing a bear costume and tells the kid, "Don't be scared." Like you just punch my mom.
Counterpoint, you should absolutely watch the version of Nick Cage.
You know what? I've never seen it. I've never actually seen it. So I should make a point to actually watch it.
You should. You should. I don't
It's
know
great.
if you enjoy edibles, but this would
Okay.
be the time.
I was about to ask you, should I get high as fuck first?
Oh, yes.
Always.
You should be pressed up against your own ceiling watching it from there.
If I'm holding onto the couch for support, like I should be. So I won't
If
float
you-
away.
Yes.
So if you normally take one gummy, 4 for this
16.
one. Okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
4, yes.
Okay.
Oh, 15. Jesus.
Take the whole bag.
If you can't smell colors, you're not high enough yet.
Ding.
All right, that's all I got. That's the horror news.
Also, but by the time this comes out, 2 weeks until Renfield became Nick Cage.
I'm so
Yes.
excited.
I'm
for it.
so excited.
Oh, also by this time this comes out, the Mario Brothers movie will be out.
Yeah, okay, yeah. My brother's this week, and then Renfield's the
When
week
does
after
Evil
that.
Dead Rise come out? It's coming out
21st. 21st.
21st.
Okay, a couple more
Oh,
weeks.
it's a
on that
big
one.
month.
Yes.
Dude, that
So
has
much
gotten
good
such
stuff.
good reviews,
I know.
and I am giddy with anticipation for them.
I saw it at South by Southwest.
You did?
The hype is
Oh!
real. It's so fucking good.
Yes.
Awesome.
So good.
Yes. Super excited.
Everyone I hear that's seen it just makes me more excited for it.
Oh my god.
I don't know where to go from that. That's awesome. All right. Thank you, Jody. All right. Moving on to our Patreon. We posted our weekly Would You Rather. And the question this week is
Dark as
do
fuck.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Oh, fuck Jason.
Oh no. Oh no.
Would you He's
Oh,
sucking me
no.
up. Would you rather kill one person and go to jail for life, or kill 100 people and get away with it?
When Jason proposed this
God.
question, Mando just responded back with a WTF with a lot of exclamation points after.
But I do have an answer,
What
though.
are we doing?
I thought about it. It's
Find
not as
out
bad as
who's
I thought it
honest.
was.
So our Patreons, all of them voted to kill 100 people and get away with it.
Yes, me too. Well, I have a good reason why.
Okay.
There's at least 100 members of the Westboro Baptist Church, so there you go. We'll just knock out a fucking 100 of them, and that's fine. I don't think anybody's gonna. And the people that will miss those people, they suck too. So
Yeah, this is one of those where like I have questions like, do you have to watch these people? Like, do you have to be the one to kill them? Do you get to choose the method? Do you get to choose who? Because I can
was
think of
gonna say, do
100
you
people
choose who?
I'd want to kill, and I can find an easy way to do it. But if I have to like find 100 random people, the first like 100 random people they pick.
no. I think it is. You get to pick the 100 people that die.
Okay, that's different.
Yeah.
Jason's like, I got a list.
Imagine,
Oh,
you
yeah,
was
look.
dude. You
I
could.
have a feeling like the CIA
Just
is already
100?
looking into this episode
Right.
now as soon as this gets released.
Logan, let's pool our hundreds.
Yeah.
All right, Jody, do you have a
We can come up
preference?
with a list.
Yeah, I don't want to go to jail for the rest of my life, but I am too soft to kill 100 people and live the rest of my life. Like I let spiders out of my house gently when I find them. I hear about people hunting and I'm like, I can't. I can't. My brother likes to hunt. It's sure great. We live in Tennessee. Like, of course, people hunt around here. And sometimes he'll bring me meat that he's killed himself. And I'm like, I can't do it. I can't eat this. So yeah, I'd have to go to jail for the one. I'd have to pick my one very well, though. Like, I'd make sure it was worthwhile, but I can't, too soft for it.
Spiders serve a purpose, though. You can let them to their house. They're going to go take care of other predatory
Oh,
animals. They're
I
part
love
of the
spiders.
ecosystem. But like, I don't know what fucking purpose Ted Cruz serves. Just saying.
Jason,
All right,
you may
Rachel.
want to do some bleeping when you're editing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bleep those
before they're
names
counted
out.
as threats.
There's a certain mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, that I'm not too fond of. But
All right, Rachel.
I would like to say that, like Jody, I am soft of heart, but I would be like, give me the infinity pool lineup. Like,
Yes, I was thinking about that actually.
there are definitely some people. I'd be like, I don't go to jail. That's the bonus.
you can make the world a better place.
But Jody's a better person than I, and I feel like he's exhibited that many, many times over.
Like, imagine you're at
Logan.
Starbucks and the person's being rude to the clerk, and you can just fucking off them. Like, that'd be amazing.
This is like, we're still 100 people you offend you.
You still have 99 left. Like,
All right, Logan.
Oh God. Yeah, I'm gonna take the 100 as the Starbucks barista. I could come up with 25 right there.
Teague, sociopath,
You're
let's
preaching to
do
the
it.
choir.
Be nice to your barista.
yes.
They may
And-
be putting you on a list.
my child also worked at Starbucks, so that's why it's near and dear to my heart.
Like, some people wanted to be Disney princesses. I just wanted the Death Note book. We're just being honest today.
Oh, God.
Well, what I think we've also figured out, though, that the Disney princesses now include the Queen Alien, the Queen Xenomorph. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
Ooh, yes. Princess Leia.
that's one I'd wait in
Yes.
line to meet.
Yeah.
The New York Queen. Same.
Put the Mickey ears on her.
Oh my God.
Oh, the mini.
Someone
ears.
Photoshop
Yes.
immediately.
Yes.
Jody.
I'm already on it.
Oh, I love having Jody's skills at my disposal.
Started Googling as soon as you said that. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Oh, if you just
All
type in
right.
if you just type in Xenomorph Disney princess, all the work's done for you, Jody. There
Okay.
are so many great photos.
All right. And then, that's our weekly thank you to our Patreon supporters. All right, let's move on to dad advice. And for this one, I especially was glad to have Rachel and Logan on because we're doing a lot of talk about trans characters tonight, but it's a hot topic right now of trans rights.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I said, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes.
So I would love to hear from the two of you. What can parents do to support their trans kids, and what resources can you recommend for parents of trans kids?
Do you want to go first, Logan, or do you want me to?
Sure. I feel like you're gonna have better material things to recommend.
I don't know. I mean, my first thing would obviously be if you are a parent of a trans child, your child has just come out to you about who they are, and you need support. PFLAG is amazing. Go to pflag.org. There are tons of resources there. It has essentially just become like a trans parent support group because of everything that parents are dealing with right now, having to be medical advocates and the government targeting them to score political points because they're garbage people. And then as far as advice, I would say the first thing you want to do is make friends with other parents of trans, other parents who have trans children. Not only are they a great resource in terms of like support and things like that, but it'll also allow you to have a place to sort of process or metabolize the experience with someone else that is not your child. There's maybe a temptation to try to like talk about those things with them, and that's like not really where you want to put your energy, but you do need someone to talk to. And so I think having other parents who have been through that experience are a great place to put that energy. And then just know that you know less about this experience than your kid, very likely you know less. And so typically that's not necessarily the dynamic you have with your children, but in this case, give them the benefit of the doubt. Don't assume that you know more than they do, and hear them out and believe what they tell you. That's my advice. I mean,
no, I love it.
I have cats,
Great.
so I pretty much consider myself to be a parent. Also, my co-hosts call me daddy, so I feel like it's okay that I have these opinions.
I
It
agree.
all works out.
I agree.
I mean, I can't talk to the experience of trying to transition as a kid. I came out when I was 18 very purposely because I did not want to try and navigate the being an adult thing myself. I said, no, I'll just do it as an adult. Definitely, you know less than you are ready to realize that you don't know. I think that was probably the hardest part for my parents, was realizing how much they had no idea about the situation and about me. And it took a lot of very fun, very awkward conversations. It will be awkward. It will be very funny. We have several running jokes in my house right now, just of like weird things that my parents said in the first year that is really funny now. Because they're incredibly supportive. I love them so much. They're just very blunt about it. Just I stand by the idea that we can always tell when questions are being asked in good faith versus when they're not. So I would say, like, do not be afraid to ask questions. Like, I refuse to believe that the angry trans person stereotype actually exists in the world. Like, we are totally fine answering questions and like getting you to relate to us as like a fellow human being.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big believer on like my child's LGBTQ, and you don't have to understand it. You have to you just have to be okay. You just have to respect the fact that and this goes to older people. A lot of older people are like, I don't understand it. Well, no one's asking you to understand it. But we're asking you, but the people are asking you to just respect their choices and respect who they want to be, and just have some kindness in your heart.
Yeah.
And as a parent, like when my child came out all these feelings, as a parent, I was kind of confused, but I'm like, well, I'm going to support you no matter what. Like, I still love you no matter what. So let's talk. Let's figure it out. We'll figure all this out together. It's okay. Like, it's okay that we're all confused. As long as we still love you, and we'll figure it out. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay. Logan, were there any resources or sites you'd recommend that parents check out?
Oh God, I really should have some off the top of my head, but I just don't.
You can send some to me and I'll be happy to put them in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think definitely it's a state-by-state basis right now. So if you are in a hostile state, I would highly recommend just like looking up what resources are available to you specifically there.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Does anyone else have anything they want to add? Are we good?
Go ahead. the two questions we got on Instagram. One was
Oh,
about
yes. Go ahead.
the one question we've already answered both technically. One question was about whether or not this episode holds up today based on the themes. I think we talked about extensively. Another one, has anybody heard Corey Feldman's music? Which we kind of just said, yeah, he makes music. Good for him. As long as it makes him happy, that's cool. I'm not gonna listen to it, but keep doing what you're doing. It makes you music. No one listens to shit I write. Like if you like playing music, play music. Have a good time. Doesn't matter if anyone else likes it.
Yeah, people are showing up, so they're enjoying it. So power to them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I can't speak to any of these things myself, but I do live in an extremely hostile state. I'm in Tennessee right now, which, like, of all places to be the epicenter of hostility, I think that's probably it at the moment. But just try to be supportive of the people in your life. People who are in various different for a state like mine, people who are different have a hard time, and they just need people to stand alongside them and support them. So yeah, I live in one of those places, and I try to do what I can, despite not having much personal connection myself.
But sometimes it's being kind to people.
Just being kind,
it goes a long way, and it takes zero effort to be kind. It really does. Like, again, going back to whether you understand it, or even if you're one of those people that doesn't agree with it, just fucking be nice to people. Like,
be nice to people.
It's not that hard to do.
Just be nice to people in general. That's probably a good policy for most people, right?
Mm-hmm. Until they give you a reason not to.
What? Yeah.
Yeah, and they said, I'm just want to hear different voices and hear opinions and hear, other people sharing their experiences, and hopefully that'll make me a better parent, if when that day comes, or for anything else.
Well, I think at least I know myself, Jason, and Jody we're all at least 40 now. God damn it, I hate saying that.
You've joined us.
I'm still the youngest.
Once you hit 40, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
But we grew up in that era where it was a very different era. And I don't mean that in a good way. I mean that it was very, like, I saw a friend that came out in junior year of high school, so year 2000, and it was a big fucking deal. Like, people shunned him after that. And like, looking back in hindsight, I'm very thankful that I wasn't one of the people that did that. I still was friends with the guy, and we had weight training together, and I was still friends with him and everything. But he ended up leaving school over it because of all the bullying he got. And it's really shitty that, like, we grew up all from that time period. So, like, and what I'm trying to bring up is, like, if we can see the goodness of people, and people from our arrogance see the goodness of people, like, there's no room for this shit in our society anymore. Like, people should just be who they want to be, and we should all accept them and just be kind to them. And then life would be so much better for everybody.
Yeah.
I
had another point too, but I totally just fucking lost it. It's been a long day.
On that note, that wraps up another episode. Rachel and Logan, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you?
Rachel, do you want to go first?
Sure. You can find me, if you want to follow me, at Rachel Pants on Twitter, or you can, more importantly, follow Zombie Grrlz at ZG Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram.
All right, Logan.
And I am on Trans Horrors on Twitter and Instagram, and in both places I have a link tree that takes you to all of my trans horror writing related things.
Cool.
Nice.
Excellent.
Part where I creepily follow you while we're recording.
It's not creepy when it goes, bam, Rachel has followed you.
It's not creepy if you announce it.
Yeah, right?
All right. Well, next week we will be reviewing Stared in Horror. We appreciate everyone for listening. We really appreciate if you would give us a rating or review on iTunes, a rating on Spotify. Check out our Patreon for bonus content. Also, check out our YouTube for videos of these podcasts. And with that, we thank you for listening to Dads from the Crypt.
Adios.
Follow Dads from the Crypt on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or I will follow you to the grave. No, seriously, you really should watch. But be careful what you ask for. You may get it.